Since this is the Compendium 2025 and we're kind of looking out longer term, I wrote about what I see as 5 existential challenges for global markets over the next 25 years. When we talk about existential, we're talking about, very large problems, right? We're talking about large problems with no clear short-term solution. Some of the challenges that need to be addressed for us to continue to progress as a world society, and also for global markets to thrive. These were kind of things that I handpicked myself as what I saw as 5 big challenges. I picked climate change, food scarcity, water scarcity. That's a pleasant one, right? I picked global geopolitical conflict, right? Both in terms of, armed conflict and economic conflict, trade wars, if you will, right? I also thought about decaying infrastructure and the need to rebuild that infrastructure. And then I looked at demographics, the aging of populations in the developed world, and the impact that that's having on public debt, okay, and the need to address these problems that require substantial funding, but at the same time to at least try to rein that debt problem in somewhat, if possible. And then lastly, 5th would be artificial intelligence. I think one thing that I found is surprising is that if you plugged these into a political debate or a presidential election speech, you'd find very little of these topics were given much attention at all. My main takeaway is that on the one hand, while there are existential challenges that seem too big to really formulate clear solutions to, right? That we've gone through a lot over the last 25 years. We had existential challenges such as being on the brink of the U.S. banking system falling, which would have collapsed the global banking system probably, right? In 2007, 2008, we had the S&P stood at 676 at its low in 2009, and here we are. We're up 880%, okay? We, in the meantime, had to deal with a whole other type of existential threat in the form of a global pandemic, right? The first global pandemic that any of us have seen in our lifetimes, right? So while we need to address a lot of problems, we need to realize that the engine of progress is powerful, and that companies, entrepreneurs, investors need to stay somewhat positive on our ability to work our way through problems, and don't bet against progress.